love the topic that you have chosen
Yeah.
today to speak about. And you and I were speaking a little bit before we got started about how essential and how important this is. And it's a topic that's not covered very often, but
Yeah.
I really resonate with what you've chosen, and that is navigating the unkindness of the dating world. And I'd like to ask you to get started, Ken. Tell me what made you choose this as a topic. Why do you want to talk about this? I love that you are, by the way, but tell me
Right.
what inspired you to talk about this.
I'm going to talk about personal reasons, professional reasons, and heart reasons why I chose this. And I'm going to start with personal, and I'm going to say that I was single. I called myself chronically single for decades,
Me too.
Yeah, it's something we shared, and we're both happily married at this point, and we both have wonderful husbands, and but we both had to do a lot of work to get to the point that we could really find and nourish love. And for me, a gay man living in New York City, going through decades of living there and looking for love, um, I got wrapped up in a lot of unkindness, the online world, the dating world, the cruising world, all the hookup world, all of that. And lived through that, became a part of it because I thought that was all there was, and learned a lot. I got stuck in a horrible, horrible hall of mirrors. And then I finally found my pass out of the hall of mirrors. And I'm excited to tell you what I learned about what got me sucked into the hall of mirrors, which is the unkindness of the dating world, and the self-scrutiny and self-sabotage that kept me there, and what my final exit ticket was and how well that worked. And I want to share that with the audience.
Mm.
I'm also a psychotherapist and a coach, and a specialist in helping people find love. And I created an event called Deeper Dating, which worked with thousands of people and is now just about to come alive online as well. It's a newer and kinder and more thoughtful way of approaching the search for love. But in that time, I saw the damage, just the collateral damage done to people in the dating world. How many of us felt like the walking wounded, and just the really horrible things that people had done to them. And I want to add something else. The kind of horrible things that we, or if not horrible, at least insensitive things that we, as single people, at some point in our lives, were sculpted into doing, because I became a part of that unkind world, I'm not proud to say. And part of my exit ticket was stopping going along with all of the norms of that unkind world. So those are two of the reasons. The other one is a heart reason, which is just I care because so many people are looking for love. And get this is an amazing, amazing thing. Over 100 million single adults in the United States. I believe that the most common household in our country at this point may be a single person living alone. And there is an explosion of ways to meet online, an absolute, veritable, insane explosion in options to meet, which gives everybody, no matter where they are, infinite opportunities to connect to people. And yet, the number of single people keeps growing. Why is that? I believe a large part of the reason is that kindness is missing. And kindness and listening and caring and generosity are quite simply the greatest and most long-lasting aphrodisiacs that exist in finding love and in keeping love. And it's the thing that least exists in the world of online dating, as well as regular dating. So this is a kind of wake-up call to everybody, and just to say, just saying, it's not your fault. You have been sculpted into this behavior to a huge degree. You can get out of it, And best of all, there are so many people who are kind and thoughtful and caring, who are looking for someone like you. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, physically handicapped or physically challenged or not, gay, straight, anything. There's people out there who are looking for someone just like you, and I know that to be true.
Mm-hmm. Wow, there was so much there, Ken. There was just so much there. And I think that this behavior, this unkindness in the dating world, I mean, when you think about it, the dating world can really be a rough and tumble world.
Yes.
It can be brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, on our self-esteem,
Yeah.
on our confidence, on us feeling like we have value as a human being, as a person. And yet, like you're saying, we sometimes, without meaning to, perhaps, are maybe inflicting some of that on other people as well. So it kind of goes both ways. Do you feel like this is something that came to mind as you were speaking? Do you feel like some of this is a defense mechanism, a
Oh,
protective defense
absolutely.
mechanism?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's the bulk of it, is that no one wants to feel stupid. No
Mm-hmm.
one wants to be stepped on. No one wants to be embarrassing. And we are taught that human decency is all of those things. You know, you're kind and generous, you get stepped on. You're earnest and heartfelt, you get laughed at. Um, we want to keep our dignity intact. And how do we keep our dignity intact? By putting some kind of a wall up. Unfortunately, that wall attracts other people with walls, or just doesn't attract anybody. It doesn't end up working. But it is a protection. It's absolutely a protection. But I want to offer everyone an image that I think is very, very powerful, that will capture a wiser way that you can protect yourself in this rough and tumble dating world. Here's what it is. It's the image of the difference between an endoskeleton and an exoskeleton. And I know that sounds weird, but I'm going to say what I mean by that. So creatures that don't have a backbone, that don't have a spine, an organizing internal bone structure inside themselves, which is an endoskeleton, need an exoskeleton, which is armor. It's armor, like you could think of a bug that has armor all around it to protect it, because inside is just mush. So that wasn't very scientific, but you all know
We
what I
got the
mean.
idea.
Yeah, the idea. Yeah, yeah. So when we protect ourselves with an exoskeleton, in other words, a suit of armor, of hardness, of coldness, it shuts out way too much. It takes away flexibility. If you have an exoskeleton, you can't really bend. Um, what is that line from Beauty and the Beast that captures the beginning of new love? Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly. And that makes us fall in love. When all of a sudden you see someone bend, you see vulnerability, you see care, you see need, and someone that you didn't know felt that for you. It's very moving, it's very touching. With an exoskeleton, you cannot bend. You are stiff, you are inflexible, and you have to keep everything out. You don't have the option of letting things in. And that's what we need when we don't know how to honor ourselves in the world of dating. When we know how to honor ourselves in dating, and I'll say more about what that means in a minute, it's like we have a spine. It's like we have an inner sense of dignity. Well, no, I won't wait. I'll say what that is right now, what that spine is. That spine is saying, I believe in being a good and decent person. I'm going to be that person. But I'm smart enough to know that not everybody is that kind of person. Maybe even the minority of people show that in the world of dating. And I'm not going to be naive. I'm going to honor that. So I'm going to show my best parts because I love those parts of me. But then I'm going to watch and I'm going to see who knows how to honor those parts back. Those are the people I want. And I'm going to watch and see the people who don't know how, or who don't get it, or step on these parts of me, or don't respect them. And I'm going to say, I am out of here. I am out of here. And when we do that, when we learn to lead with our kindness, but then only look for people that have the same values, we save ourselves time. We develop an endoskeleton so that when that person shows up, we're flexible, we're open, we can let them in. And best of all, we're dignifying our internal nature. We're dignifying the values we believe in the most. And when we do that, there's a lot of benefits. One benefit, we don't waste time by trying to get unkind people to learn the lessons of being kind. Another benefit is we become more aware, we become better scouts of the people who are kind and decent, and we value them more. There's a third benefit too, which is pretty amazing. When we make that choice, we begin to crack the spine of our fear of rejection. This is how we lose fear of rejection, by going in saying, I don't want to get rejected, but my intention in this dating environment is to be a good human being and only look for good human beings. When we do that, we've got something inside ourselves that's more important than rejection or lack of rejection. We've got something that we could like own and claim. And when we do that, and I've seen this with my clients and the people in my intensive courses again and again, when they make that decision, when they go out there to date, they go, oh my God, I actually care less than I did if I get rejected, because my commitment is to being this kind of person and only looking for this kind of person. It changes the game in profound ways. Now, God knows what I'm saying sounds simple and easy, and on some level it is. And on another level, it takes work, and it takes a whole rethinking in a world of two-word profiles and swipe right and swipe left. It takes some real work.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think, this, what you've been describing here, well, there's so much there again, but what you've been describing is being able to show our real selves and our vulnerable selves, but also doing it in a way where we're not going to allow ourselves to be treated poorly by those who don't honor or respect who we are as a person, who don't resonate or appreciate with that. Because we always hear this idea of being vulnerable, and that's all good and fine, and again, easier said than done,
Right.
because we're afraid of being rejected or hurt. But combining that vulnerability, or that authenticity, if you will, along with that internal guide that tells us that we have value as a human being, and we're not going to cast our pearls before swine, so to speak. Not that I'm calling anyone a swine, but the idea here.
Yes.
We're not going to allow ourselves to be used, abused, or treated badly
Right.
by letting our gifts, by letting our humanity, by letting our vulnerability be stomped on by someone who doesn't respect or appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah. So true. And it changes things when we do that. It really, really, I'll tell you, it clears a path to finding love. It's maybe the simplest and most effective way I know to clear a path to find love. And there's really interesting research about this too. I'm going to talk about some more of the benefits of living this way in your dating life. And I know it's like running up a down escalator. It's not easy. It is not easy. I don't say this lightly, but I do say that it really does work. So I want to talk about two other pretty amazing side benefits of living this way. One is there's a concept in the kind of more serious academic study of attraction that's called the principle of instrumentality. And it's very interesting. And what it says is that when somebody meets your goals, like personal goals that really matter to you, and they have qualities that help you meet those goals, you will notice them more, and you will be more attracted to them. Um, and I think this is really true here, because if you shift your goal, like just picture this, everybody, picture shifting your goal from I hope people are attracted to me, and I'm looking for somebody who is attractive, successful, stable, all those good things, who I'm attracted to and he's attracted to me. I'm looking for that needle in the haystack, that very special person. Picture going that way. Now, picture instead all those same things, but thinking only someone who is kind, generous of spirit, and essentially decent. And that is what I'm looking for. This is something I teach my students, that there's a question that you ask, a pivotal central question. The question is this: does my soul feel safe with this person?
Mm.
And you won't know that on the first date, probably, but you probably will know if your soul feels unsafe with that person. But you ask yourself that question over time. And when that becomes your question, your dating goal changes. You are subtly looking for something different. And according to the principle of instrumentality, you will be more likely to notice those kind and generous people. You will be more likely to be attracted to them as well. And the studies don't show this, but my experience doing the work that I do, and if there's time, I'll talk about why later, also shows that you will find people who are attracted to those very same qualities in you even more. So that's one benefit. You'll save time, your picker will improve, and you're more likely to be attracted to these people. So it truly changes everything, and it is stunning to me that no one teaches us this.
Mhm.
And if I could state another piece of research, Michelle, that is just amazing, revolutionary. And if everybody who was dating knew about this research and cared enough to make changes, we would see a revolution. This is a study by a psychologist whose name is David Buss. And he did a very large study, men, women, all different ages, all different locations, backgrounds, and he asked them for the qualities they most looked for, that mattered the most to them in finding a mate. And guess what? The number one attraction was not attractiveness. It was not wealth or success. It was not a sense of humor. It was not intelligence. Those were like second and third. Guess what it was? It was kindness and understanding. Men and women from everywhere of all ages put that as number one. So how is it that in the land of dating advice, that is not placed as number one? How is that so far under having fabulous glutes and abs? How did that happen? How did that happen? So it's an amazing piece of research that we all should know about.
Yeah, and my husband and I are about to celebrate our 12-year anniversary, and we have
Oh,
talked. Thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you so much. We have talked so often in our marriage now how the thing we appreciate the very most about each other is that we are kind. We are kind. It is safe. Our souls are safe with each other. And I love that question. I love that question that you put out there. And I love that you shared this research, because I don't know that it does always come to mind as people are kind of making their mental or physical lists of, that it's the number one top thing. But as you know, Ken, when you're in a intimate relationship with someone, they see you at your best, your worst, and everything in between, and you
Maybe.
are very vulnerable.
Yes, and it's true. And you will be unkind. You will be unkind at points. And then the human process is apologizing. And that creates safety again. You know, they say that the story of relationships is a story of rupture and repair, rupture and repair. And it's a kind act to acknowledge where you weren't kind, and an important thing to be able to do. I guess that's part of the definition of kindness, is when we fall short, we apologize, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that we
Um,
recognize that we've fallen short, and we have the awareness to
that's right.
acknowledge
That's right.
that, to, as you said,
Yeah.
repair. Uh,
Yes. You know, I'm going to share another benefit toward this of this approach, and that is And also it's got some fascinating research around it. But that is like the whole issue of playing hard to get, right? Because we get told play hard to get, and that's not kind. Playing hard to get is not kind. It's a game to make someone feel off balance and insecure so that they cling to you and have some kind of very primitive trigger of not wanting to lose you be activated.
Yeah.
And it works. It works in some ways, but it ultimately doesn't work. And the research shows that playing hard to get can make someone want you more, but it makes them like you less. So that's really interesting. And the other piece of this is that what the research shows really, really works infinitely better than playing hard to get is being discriminating and having somebody have a sense that you are a discriminating person and that you are not just looking for anybody and everybody, but that they have qualities that are the qualities you're looking for. That is a turn on, turn on, turn on. That's an aphrodisiac. So embody these ideas, meet that kind person. You will let them know in so many ways that what they have is what you're looking for. And that's a turn on. That's not playing hard to get. That's also not something that's going to make them run for the hills, unless there's someone who want to run from the hill for the hills anyway. It's something that's going to actually make them like you a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I really love the insights you're sharing. And one thing that I've always believed, and I'll be interested to hear if you agree with this, is that being observant as you're getting to know someone and noticing how they treat not only you, but how they treat other people, whether it be
Oh,
restaurant
yes.
servers or whatever. If you sense there's, that streak of meanness in someone, I believe eventually if you end up partnering with that person, that meanness will come back toward you, even if they're treating you really well in the moment, because I believe that's part of their innate character, and that's eventually going to be directed at you.
That is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And, especially if you're kind of being love bombed or someone that's in the early stages and someone is just so gloriously gorgeous with you, but they treat the weight person horribly, that's really, or they're not so nice to your friends. That's really, really something to watch out for. So that's a really important point. And, um, and I agree with your forecasting too, that ultimately, because it's part of their character, it will come out and it'll come out at you. And even if it doesn't come out at you, it'll come out on the people you love, or it'll come out on maybe one of the children that you have with this person, if you have children, or all the kids that you have. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've shared everything that you want to share yet about how you feel like you kind of made it out of this pattern of meanness that you alluded to at the beginning of our conversation. But I wanted to make sure if there was more you wanted to share that you got a chance to complete that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And there is some more that I want to share. In my book, Deeper Dating, the heart of what I talk about is that these qualities that I call our core gifts, which are the places where we feel the most, where we're the most sensitive, the most vulnerable, are actually they're not, we often feel like they're the thing we have to like shove behind us if we're going to be attractive enough to find love. But the truth is, they're the things we need to lead with because they're our soul. And if we don't, we will keep ending up with people. So, for example, if you've got a soft heart, if you are someone who cares about kindness, about deep listening, about sharing, about generosity, but you've been hurt in those places, so you kind of toughen up and don't show those parts of you, it's going to make you more likely to meet people who treat those parts of you badly. If you learn to lead with those parts of yourself in the ways that we're talking about, your attractions will actually begin to change. So that's what happened for me. What happened for me is that, I grew up as a gay kid in the 60s, and that was not a good time to be a gay boy, I'll tell you that. And so all of these qualities of tenderness and vulnerability and sensitivity and creativity, love of music, effusiveness of spirit, they were all things to be suppressed. They were like you let that out and you're going to get teased endlessly, which I was, even though I tried not to let them out. But so I learned to be ashamed of those parts of myself, and in some way to despise them. And um, so those then were the kind of guys I was attracted to: cocky, tough guys who somehow had managed to tame, harness, cage, destroy, or ignore their own soft qualities. And so that was kind of the wheel I was stuck in. I kept being attracted to those people, and they ultimately were not that attracted to me or that interested in me. And the people who were interested in me, who were kind and decent, I just wanted to flee them. So here's the deal. As I began to value those parts of me, my attractions changed. As I began to value those kind of more tender qualities, I had at this point become a psychotherapist and a teacher, and I was learning that those were the very qualities people were drawn to in my work. The very qualities I thought were the least attractive, the most embarrassing. So in all these different ways, I began to validate those parts of me. And as I did, unexpectedly, I found myself more attracted to guys who were decent and kind. I found that they were, wonder of wonders, interested in me as well. And that was my pass out of that hall of mirrors. It was recognizing and honoring those qualities in me, which helped me which just changed the path. I got out of that horrible thing of trying to get people to love me who didn't or couldn't. So that's, I guess, what I want to say about that. And that's how it fits right into everything we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think so often we try to put on the masks, or we try to appear to be who we think another person or who the world at large might want us to be, whatever we've conjured up to think that might be. And so then people don't see our real selves. They don't see our authenticity, our vulnerability. We're not leading with that. And it makes it a lot harder for us to attract the kind of people that would be attracted to the real person that we are.
Absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
and it makes it ironically, we think people oftentimes we think people will be that showing our vulnerable side or our real side or our tender side will be off-putting. But in reality, don't you think it makes it safe for people to show their soft side, their vulnerability, their real side too, when we allow that to shine through, if you will?
It is. It is also the single best filter for finding the kind of person you want. The single best filter. Although I will put out two more filters. Not to diverge from topic, but I think it's important to say, if the person you love or are interested in has a substance abuse problem
Mm.
or has an unstabilized psychiatric disorder, it's not going to work out well. Wait until they stabilize, wait until they're sober for a good period of time and are getting support before you commit. That's just a word of warning to all of you. And I think, a kind of really important thing to say. And Michelle, if I could, I would just like to share some nitty-gritty tips for people who want to take this out into the world of dating.
Yes, please.
So I want to talk about actual, like, non-online dating, and I want to talk about online dating. So non-online dating, here's what I want to say. It's really easy to blow people off. And somehow we often do it because of our kindness. It just hurts too much to tell someone we're not interested, and so we don't get back to them. And to some degree, I think it's an appropriate thing. I think people feel differently about this. People want different things. Like early on, some people feel like, don't write back to me if I've just reached out to you online and tell me you're not interested. I just don't respond. I don't have to hear that you're not interested in me. That hurts. But when you're dating someone for a while, do not disappear. As strong as the temptation is, give them the decency of a response.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something I want to say. This thing of blowing people off that is so easy to do, and it's just not okay. It's just not okay. Just not okay. So that's what I want to say there. A simple thing. I want to say some things about online dating, though. So first, I want to talk to the folks who are doing dating in places like Match.com or OkCupid, or the smaller sites like Meet Mindful, or so many different sites. What I want to say to you is show who you are in your profile. Really show who you are. Show your real self. Do these things that we're talking about here, and look for these qualities in other people's profiles too. You could even do a search that includes the word kindness, the word respect, the word compassion. You could search out people who use those words in their profile. And then when you speak to them on the phone, um, let yourself show your warmth. Let yourself show your generosity. Let yourself show these parts. It will be attractive to the right people. You don't have to hold that close to your vest until you know if you like them. You can show it from right away, because you will not lose one drop of ability to leave just by showing your kindness and your goodness. So that's one thing I want to say to you folks. Now, you folks who are maybe younger and doing the apps, the geosocial apps, Tinder, and all of those. This is what I want to say to you. You are the way that these work is that in most of them you're being corralled into jerky behavior. Limited profiles, jerky behavior, hookups, blow-offs, etc., etc., etc. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to get creative here. Let your profile show that you have a soul. Don't do the hookup thing. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you're looking for love, don't do it, because it's really you're gonna lose time. You'll lose
Mm-hmm.
time. It's not worth it. Save your energy for what you really want. It's a good enough and important enough goal to do that. And I don't say that as someone who doesn't know. I know how hard it can be to do that. But I think it's really important. The other thing that I want to say is, um, go the route of letting people know quickly that you're looking for something serious. Will you lose a lot of hits? Yes, you will. Should you be happy about that? Yes, you should. Because that's not what you're looking for. So watch for being culturally corralled into dead end behavior. So that's what I want to say to all the younger folks who are using those apps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were some really, really important things that you shared there, Ken. I'm so glad you added that, because it's they're really important things that you shared. And I agree with you. I can't tell you how much I resonate with what you've been sharing here today. It's really,
Mm.
really a fantastic topic that we've been discussing, and
Good.
so far reaching. And I always think, if we can, wherever possible, leave, whether the person is our person or not, whether they're going to be our long-term connection partner, lover, husband, whatever, in the end, if we can leave that person, and if we decide they're not going to be that long-term relationship, if we can leave them in a loving, positive way, I think it helps set us up and set them up for better opportunities and for staying open to new opportunities in the future. I guess it kind of goes along with Catherine Woodward Thomas's work around conscious uncoupling. I just think if we can lovingly release people into the universe to their and our highest and best good, wherever possible, express that kindness and compassion just for someone else's humanity, whether or not they're our match. I just think that's such a gift and blessing we could give each other, because
Oh, I
it's
love that.
it's not always the way the world treats people. And we don't want to leave a trail of damaged human beings in our wake, any more than we want to be left in someone else's wake, having been kicked to the curb, or like you described, just disappearing or deserting. I think that it doesn't show respect for someone else's humanity. And if we think about who we want to be and who we want to attract, we don't want to be treated like that. I mean, I mean, there's a version of the golden rule that just says, you know, do not do that which would be hateful to another, that would be hateful to you to another. And,
Right.
you know, that I think goes along with what we're talking about here today. So I just so resonate with this topic, and I think it's so important.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. I love what you said. You know, it reminds me of when I was a Boy Scout and they taught us always leave the campsite cleaner than when you got there. And you know, this is of course a much deeper thing, but you're saying have the intention of not leaving damage in your dating trail and leaving good, leaving things a little bit better. And I love that. I just think that's so great. What a great intention for everyone.
Yeah, just having that respect for other people's humanity, as we want to have, we want other people to have respect for our humanity. Just because someone doesn't turn out to be our love match, because most people are not going to be our long-term love match. Most people we date don't turn out to be our long-term love match. But if we can just have that, if we can come from that place of knowing who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world, and that we want to show up as a person of love and kindness and compassion, and if we can lovingly release those who are not our match, just as we would hope to be lovingly released by someone, I just think that could do so much for the world of dating, because it is a rough and tumble world out there sometimes. And I
Yes.
think we've all felt like we've been kicked to the curb at least once. And unfortunately, we've probably done it to someone else too, not knowing
Yes.
how to navigate this. So,
Yes. Beautiful.
yeah, just so important. I've loved our conversation, Ken, and so much love to
Right
you.
back. Thank you, Michelle. You're the best.
And we will sign off for now. Wishing all of the people out there lots of love, and I hope this conversation has resonated, because I just think it's been so important, and I've really appreciated what you've shared, Ken. Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much, Michelle. It's a joy to be here. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye for now.